Hey anime fans, this is Chris Bolts coming in with a video that is looking at a particular bill in Texas that, if signed into law, could have a potential negative impact on anime. And I say potential because the devil's is in the details. But before I get into the content, please do like, share, subscribe, turn on those post notifications. And if you watch this video all the way to the end, I really appreciate your support. All that stuff really helps me out. And of course, the bill I am referring to is SB20. It comes out of Texas. Now, the bill has already been passed into law, as indicated by this particular article from the Outer Haven, written by Josh Piedra. It passed on the 22nd, so it was passed out of the House of Representatives, basically on a unanimous vote. I think both parties voted unanimously for it. And it has not been signed into law as of yet. And we'll see, it was already voted on and passed by the Senate on March 12th. So this is one of those rare times where a bill has unanimous support. And of course, the intentions of both parties is in the right place, if you will. They are both wanting to protect kids from being exploited. We don't want kids being exploited in any way, shape, or form. Whether that exploitation is real, definitely if it is real, or if it is of a animated nature. We don't want kids being exploited. However, we always say, there's an old saying that says the road to hell is paved with good intentions. So the devil is in the details, pardon all the puns and euphemism and all that, but that's where we're at here. Now, if we go to the actual language of the bill itself, the paragraph that really is tripping everybody up here is paragraph B of the SB20. And that part says right here, it's very simple. A person commits an offense if the person knowingly possesses, accesses with intent to view, or promotes obscene visual material containing a depiction that appears to be of a child younger than 18 years of age, engaging in activities described by section 43.21, Section A1B, regardless of whether the depiction is an image of an actual child, a cartoon or animation, or an image created using an artificial intelligence application or other computer software. And of course, when you click on the actual penal code of itself and you go to 4321A 1B, right here, this is the additional part right here. Obscene means material or performance that A, the average person applying contemporary community standards will find that it taken as a whole appears to be the prurient interest in sex, or B, depicts or describes a patently offensive representations or descriptions of ultimate. And we get all this, and it's kind of sad that we have to go through all this because, hey, we live in a society that has placed such a high value on sex. It never used to be this way or anything like that. It really came into being probably around the baby boomer generation, where free sex and all that became a big part of our society and everything like that. And as our society has degenerated more and more into sexual proclivities, hey, it starts pushing up against that boundary with kids. We see that a lot of our, for a while there, we were trying to promote sexual activity among kids. We're starting to preach this stuff to kids. We're starting to teach this stuff to kids. And we don't want that. We don't want that at all. So both parties, understandably, especially in the state of Texas, which is red. I think Democrats who live in the state of Texas are a little bit more red than Democrats that live in California, to be honest. And so they're looking at this from a right place. However, once again, the devil's within the details. What does it mean to have a cartoon or an animation right there? And a lot of people are sitting there believing that, oh, well, this also means it could potentially mean anime, because a lot of anime happens to portray a lot of sexual angst and tension between high school students. And I'm watching one right now called Takamine-san. Please put them on Takamine-san. And yeah, I think that one would definitely probably get you in trouble if you are watching that in the state of Texas. If this law gets signed into law by the governor there right now, it must be said that it is not law because it hasn't been signed by the governor as of yet. If he gets signed, then it becomes law. If he vetoes it, it goes back to the House. But I think they have enough to override the veto. So it effectively probably is safe to say that it is basically the law of Texas. And this only impacts Texas. It doesn't impact anywhere else in the country because each state operates independent of the other. And although Texas is one of our larger states, a lot of things don't come out of Texas as it does with another state that's just being currently run into the ground. But I digress on that point, and you guys can make a guess of what state I'm referring to: California. So a lot of people are worried that this could mean anime. And we go right down here in this particular article from Understanding Senate Bill 20, if anime could be impacted in Texas, written by Zori Jones and Rilwan Balogan. It says right here, let me see. Well, hold on one moment right here. Could this law unintentionally criminalize art, manga, or even harmless visual content? The anime and gaming communities could be especially impacted. Popular anime series, fan art, and even certain fighting game character designs might now fall into a legal gray area. Could a provocative anime character or a suggestive scene in the game be misinterpreted under this law? Well, the law seems pretty straightforward. Will there be? It's not that it would be misinterpreted. It would be, would there be exceptions made to the law? And right now, there are no exceptions being made to the law or anything like that because this paragraph is pretty straightforward. It's pretty straightforward as into what might fall underneath the law and what wouldn't fall underneath the law. If the character is younger than 18 years of age and they're engaged in activities described in section 43.21a-b, then they would be committing that offense. And of course, we go back again. Obscene material means all these things listed in this particular paragraph right here. So, it's just anything like that. If it's meeting any of that, then it is running afoul of it would be running afoul of Texas law. And so, will some video games probably run? I don't think there are too many video games that would run afoul of that. To be honest, and everything. And let's go back to this article right here. Denise Lay, the owner of the Anime Bar, spoke out about how concerned creators are, saying, quote, "There's been a fear of this bill because it's so vague." She went on to say, "I believe this bill is a protection against people who use free AI tools readily available on the internet to create, deep fakes or an obscene material." Actually, there's something that was being passed at the federal level that makes it illegal for anyone to share content without the other person's permission online. So if you do take pictures of someone or you create AI deep fakes or anything like that, you can run afoul of federal law. So that we have that already there as well. Lay said it could be a tricky line protecting kids from harm, but also not over-regulating creative freedom. Well, this is where I kind of fall into more of the camp of, you can still have your creative freedom, but if your initial thought is to go in there and start drawing kids in such a provocative manner, what does that say about you? What does that say about you as a creator? That's just the first thing that comes to your mind, is that you want to draw kids in such a provocative nature. You can go ahead and draw, 20-year-olds and just say, hey, this is a 20-year-old. She looks like a kid, because there's a lot of 20-year-olds that still look like they could be in grade school. But you gotta be careful with what you do, right? And then director of Anime Matsuri, John Lay, Anime Matsuri happens to be one of the bigger festivals in Houston, Texas, probably in the country. As soon as this bill hit the internet, we had calls, emails, people contacting, especially people that are from out of state that probably just, don't live here. And if you don't live in the state, you shouldn't really be worried about this. You shouldn't really be worried about this or anything. And John reassured the people who contacted him, saying, "You're totally fine. It's not targeted towards you. Texas is a great place for business, and we've never had any issues. We screen artists, and we have rules against this stuff anyway to begin with." And so, yeah, but that's what a lot of people who are within the anime community, you have to understand that as anime becomes more mainstream, more and more of this stuff is going to get into the way of people who really did not put their eyes on the anime industry to begin with. And that includes a lot of legislators. Now, even over in Japan, they started cracking down on a lot of this stuff as well. You will notice that a lot of the anime nowadays is not as violent and as sexually provocative as it was with anime during the early aughts and definitely during the early to mid 90s. Man, you go back during that time period, you have blood and gore and guts and everything like that. I don't even think Fist of the North Star can be done in Japan proper the way it was done back then. It's surprising that Berserk had gotten redone as a movies. I think they probably got away with it because they were still movies. But when you look at Berserk season 2 compared to Berserk the first season, they are vastly different. It's like there's no way you can get away with that kind of stuff. And then Elfen Lied, Elfen Lied is another one. But Vandred wasn't as provocative naked wise, but as far as the sexual jokes it told, High School D&D, that's another one. I don't think could probably be done right now. Rosario Vampire, there's all kinds of anime that I don't think can be done today, even in Japan. Because the things have just changed that much, and I know they still probably have a lot of questionable stuff that's over in Japan and whatnot in terms of manga. But yeah, it's over here in the States. It's just going to be, I don't think it's going to have as much impact outside of Texas. I think a lot of people are overblowing this, but only thing I can say right now is we just have to keep an eye on this to see which direction this is going. And this is why it's very important for people to get involved in lobbying their state legislators and getting involved in making sure you're following this type of stuff. So that way you can go ahead and educate these legislators, these politicians, and let them know, hey, we need to be careful as we are approaching this type of issue. I know some people are trying to say, make this like a freedom of speech and a free expression type thing. Don't go down that road. I don't think there's going to be any type of issue that they state that these legislators will have. Although the Supreme Court has made rulings about certain types of things being freedom of speech and free expression, they did not say that it cannot be regulated. So all this stuff still can go in there and still be highly regulated by these state legislatures and by the Congress should it get to that level. That's why you need to get involved and inform to make sure that these politicians make the right calls on these types of issues. So let's go down to the comments on some of these and let's see what some of the commenters have to say about this. And by the way, the bill does not specifically target anime. That's one other thing that needs to be understood, is that the bill does not specifically target any type of art form or entertainment form or medium. It's basically a wide. It is very broad. That's why I don't agree with the phrasing that it's intentionally vague. It's very broad. Lots of things can be caught underneath it. So even though it doesn't specifically say it targets anime or video games or anything like that, if properly interpreted, it could fit underneath that. But anyways, let's go ahead and read some of these comments here. And of course, the very first one that I read here is, let me get this straight. You can legally sleep with a 17-year-old girl in Texas, but you draw her, it's a felony. I think, that would probably be a felony, especially if it's against her will. I don't think that, and then on top of that, the law on the books that says sleeping with a 17-year-old girl, you shouldn't want to do that either. We still frown upon that. So society still controls that in such a way too. This from Chelsea Girl 2008. Were any of the lawmakers aware of how many classic Disney movies have depictions of teenage girls having romantic relationships with adults? That's also different. You got to come in here and make better arguments. These types of arguments are not going to work on these people. They're not going to work on these people or anything like that. Snow White is from a different time period. Aurora from Sleeping Beauty is from a different time period. Romeo and Juliet is from a different time period. Belle, and then right there, Belle from Beauty and the Beast. Come on, that stuff right there is there's other issues going on right there, but you can't make these types of arguments. And you bringing up Disney, especially with the current history of Disney, you're only going to strengthen some people's positions against or for this bill. Rather, you're going to strengthen their position for the bill, considering what we're talking about with modern day Disney. And then right here, Honey says, just because someone else got away with it doesn't make it okay for everyone else to. This is what's wrong with people's mindset. If it's explicit, sexual, and contains children, then it shouldn't be allowed, no matter if someone else did it or not a long time ago. And I think that's in response to this person, Chelsea Girl. That is exactly correct. You can't say, well, it's been done before in the past. Why can't we continue going in the future? You need to come up with better, coherent arguments to counter this kind of stuff right here. Paul Blart says, I'm a Texan and an artist. I am absolutely against this ban. It will lead to authoritarian policing of content. No, it won't. Restriction on artistic vision and expression. Sometimes it can be restricted. Sometimes, right? Creation of underground communities like the Prohibition era. No, it won't lead to that. And an impeachment of representatives who supported the ban. No, it won't lead to that. This again. Come up with better arguments and don't sit there and make stupid arguments like it'll lead to authoritarianism when it won't lead to authoritarianism. It won't lead to a restriction on artistic vision and expression, and it won't lead unto a creation of underground communities. And in fact, let's talk about artistic expression. Or can you go and draw a swastika on a wall? You probably you can, but you probably don't do it. That's a de facto restriction on artistic expression, and no one is going to sit there and argue against that. So come up with better stuff. What's next? Thought crime? No, that's you gotta no. I tell you, if you are against this bill, you have to have better arguments to support the positions against the bill, because the bill has gotten unanimous support from both Republicans and Democrats. You got to come up with better arguments than that. So those are my thoughts on the issue right here. It's a nuanced subject, to be sure. It's one that's definitely worth keeping our attention on. And right now it's only impacting in Texas, but who knows? It might go further than that. It may not go further than that. But again, the only way we're going to be able to have any type of impact on where this issue goes is if we get involved and get the ear of our representatives. But those are my thoughts on the matter. You guys jump down in the comments and let me know what you guys think. Do you support this bill? Are you against it? Why? in either direction, just give good reasonings and give good arguments. Jump down in the comments and let me know. And thank you and remember to like, share, subscribe, turn on those post notifications. All that good stuff helps me out. And if you watch this video all the way to the end, I really do appreciate your support. And remember, this is Chris Bolt signing off, and I will catch you guys in the next video. You guys take it easy.